So this term appreciative inquiry is a funny term. If I say the word to you, appreciate, what do you think of? Grateful, thankful, affirm, respectful, gratitude, acknowledge, positive, honored, welcoming. You like this word, don't you? If I were to say to you that a great work of art had appreciated, what would it mean?
Increased in
value. It increased in value. Good. And why would that work of art appreciate?
People want to buy it.
It was special because of you. Because people value it, correct? That there's something about appreciation that increases a sense of value. Yes?
Yes.
Now, what about the word inquire? If I say the word inquire, what do you think of? Ask. Good. Searching. So it's more than how's the weather, right? I could inquire into the weather, but usually if I'm inquiring, I'm learning. I'm trying to learn something. I'm studying it. So there's a kind of rigor to inquiry that goes beyond simply asking questions, yes?
Yes.
So if you put those words together, you get a sense of this term, appreciative inquiry. Off to the right, I've given you a definition. And I'd like to talk about that definition. We say that in one of the books that Diana and I co-authored called The Power of Appreciative Inquiry, we define appreciative inquiry as the study of what gives life to human systems when they're at their best. I want to say this again. The study of what gives life to human systems when they're at their best. Now, there's a few parts of this that I would like to call out. The first is, it's a study. It's not about the answers. It's about the search. Okay? It's about the intention to go underneath and understand. Second, it's about the study of what gives life. We like to understand a lot of things. In the business world that we work in so often, people like to study problems. They like to understand the root cause of failure about things. That's not what we study. With appreciative inquiry, we study what gives life, what gives joy, what gives hope, what gives vitality, what brings out the best, the basic goodness in a situation or a person. Now, the next piece is, it's the study of what gives life to human systems when they are at their best. Now, we know that all of us being human are not always at our best, correct? So, what we believe, what we know from research, is that in studying the system when it is at its best, we learn ways of replicating that. We learn ways to help the system be at its best more frequently. An example I would give, I have a daughter, she is now 18 years old. When she was younger, when she was in grade school, my daughter brought home a report card one time. And the report card marked her down in the area of paying attention. Now, I'm sure she's not the only child that has ever had this issue. My daughter is very what is called high-spirited. That's one way of putting it. She has a lot of energy. She's very social. And when we went in to talk to the teacher about it, because it upset her to be marked down for something, the teacher said, well, Hannah Joy, you're very smart. You get things quickly, and then you start talking to your friends. It distracts people in the class. And he said, if you would just be still and be quiet, other people would be able to get the work as well. And as we were leaving, he said, would it help you, Hannah Joy, if the next couple of weeks, every time I saw you distracting, at the end of the class I would let you know. And she said to her teacher, Eric, you know, that might help, but what might help me more is if I can make it through a class without distracting anybody, that you would tell me that. She said, I don't know what it is about compliments. Once I get one, I just want to do it over again. Now, this was a fifth grader's way of talking about the importance of studying what gives life when we are at our best. That there's something that we learn by studying when we are at our best that's hard for us to take in when we are studying problems. So let me give you an example from a business setting, but it's a good example because it tells you something that may apply to your order. There was a chain of car dealerships a number of years ago outside of Cleveland known as ProCare. For those of you who've been in Cincinnati, if you have roots in Cleveland, you may even recognize them. ProCare was characterized by extremely high levels of customer satisfaction. And indeed, at the time that this story takes place, 79% of their customers were 100% satisfied with the services that they were receiving through ProCare, which is very, very high. Now, that wasn't good enough for them. They decided that they wanted to be better yet. So they hired some consultants to come in, and the consultants went out and they did interviews with the 21% that were not happy to find out what they were doing wrong and what they needed to do to improve so that people would feel good about them. Seems like a reasonable approach, right? So they went, they did these interviews, and then they put it all together in reports and charts and graphs, and they put it up in the break rooms, and they did some customer service training programs to help people in the areas where there were problems. And 6 months passed, they resurveyed, and lo and behold, the results had gone down. That instead of improving through all this focus, the customer satisfaction had actually gotten worse. And there was a lot of hand-wringing and upset about this. And what happened was, fortunately for them, one of their general managers was a student at Case Western at the time, in the Weatherhead School, and he was studying this process, funny process called appreciative inquiry, and he came back to his colleagues and he said, did we even talk to the 79% of the people who were 100% satisfied with us? And they said, well, no, why would we do that? They're already happy. And he said, but do we know why they're happy? Do we know what it is that we're doing so well that they are 100% satisfied with us? Oh my goodness. They had forgotten something very important. So what they did was they started a new study. They decided that they would explore what they called the outstanding customer service experience. The root cause of success is another way to put it. What they were doing right when they were doing it right. And they sent employees out to talk with customers. And they sent employees out to talk with employees at other locations. And they studied best practices in other companies in areas where they knew where they were deficient. And they did all of this in a very short period of time. I remember years ago that I spoke with a man who had been a mechanic at ProCare when this was going on, and I asked him what it was like. And his response was that there was an explosion of energy in the organization when they began this. There was an explosion of energy. He said everybody was abuzz with ideas, with insights, with excitement about what could happen in the future. Now, 8 months later, they resurveyed, and as you can see on this slide, 95% of their customers were 100% satisfied. Now, why do you think this might have been? They were engaged. They were complimented. It was like my daughter. There's something about a compliment makes me just want to do things over and over again. They knew what they were doing right. There's something about this. If you think about plants, when we put a plant into a dark room that has a sliver of light, what does it do? It grows towards the light, is what it does. It turns around and grows towards the light. Appreciative inquiry dusts off the light. It dusts it off. It opens the shade. It says, here I am over here. This is where we want to go.